All right, we're back. We are finding c equals the square root of 41. Let's put it in our calculator. 41 square root 6.4, which is what we got right here, 6.4. Okay, so up to now we've only calculated the length of a hypotenuse, so solving for c, so this longest part of the triangle right there. Now we're going to try to calculate one of the legs, so solving for A or solving for B. Consider the diagram to the right. We found that the area of the legs, 9 and 16, added up to the area of the hypotenuse. Okay, so if this is 3, this is 4, the area would be 4 times 4, which is 16. Here, if this is 3, that means this would be 3, that's 3, that's 3. The area would be 3 times 3, or 9. And this side, 5, the area of this, 5 times 5 is 25. We found that if you add 9 plus 16, you get 25. But it is also true that the hypotenuse subtract one of the legs equals the other leg. So for example, 25 subtract 16 equals 9. And it's also true that 25 subtract 9 equals 16. So because it's true that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, it's also true that c squared minus a squared equals b squared, and c squared minus b squared equals a squared. Okay, so there's basically kind of two ways to solve for c, and I'm showing one version now. Later when we get to the practice sheets and I go over the practice sheets, I'll show you both ways. So you can either kind of rejig the equation, or you can just do another method, which I'll show you now quickly, but I'll do our revised equation first. So let's calculate the squares of the sides. So here we got 5 inches and 10 inches. So calculate the squares of the sides. We do this one right here. That would be 5 squared. And this hypotenuse one right here would be 10 squared. So 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25. And 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. What is the difference of the squares? So the difference is the result of a subtraction question. So let's do 100 minus 25. And what's that? That's going to be 75. 25. Using your calculator, what is the square root of this difference? So what is the square root of 75? So let's find that. 8.66. And that would be in inches. Does this make sense? Yeah, it does. 8.66 inches. It's less than 10. That makes sense because the hypotenuse is always going to be the longest. So if we got 86 inches here or something like that, that would have been wrong. And it is a little bit longer than our 5 inches side. So I would say that does make sense. Yes. Now let's show it all together. So let's use our revised formula, c squared minus a squared. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if you use a or b, but that's okay, equals b squared. So our c, remember, was 10 squared. Subtract a, 5 squared, equals b squared. We don't know what the b squared is yet. Now we can, let's go over here. Solve 10 squared, which is 100, minus 5 squared, which is 25, equals b squared. Then we find that 75 equals b squared. And to get the exponent here away from the b, we need to take the square root of each side. And we find that b equals the square root of 75, which is 8.66 inches. Okay, another way we could have done it, we could have just used our regular formula, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a, in this one, we have 5 squared plus, we still don't know b squared, so we're just going to leave it as a variable, equals 10 squared. Now I'll go over here, 25 plus b squared equals 100. Now, to get the b by itself, we need to deal with this 25 here. So currently it's a positive 25, so we're going to minus 25 from each side. So positive 25 minus 25 is just going to kind of equal it to 0, and we're left with b squared equals whatever 100 minus 25 is. So b squared equals 75. And here we are, we're back at this step. Now we just need to take the square root of each side, and we are left with b equals the square root of 75, which is 8.66 inches. So kind of two ways to do it. This is almost like starting a step earlier, but whatever way works for you is the best. Whatever makes sense for you is always the best way to do it. Okay, thanks, folks. That's it for now.